Hi there, my name is Jason Manajek, and I'm here to discuss with you my top 10 games that I own. And I just want to be able to share with everyone what I have. And again, these are top 10 games that I have that I'm willing to play. I have many other games that I have and maybe don't like to play as often, so I wouldn't recommend people to get them. And when I'm looking for new games myself, I particularly look for YouTube videos, particularly Dice Tower or Starlight Citadels. And the most helpful videos to me when I'm buying are their top 10 lists. And so actually a lot of these are on some top 10 lists, and I wanted to go through them with you. And again, this list is going to be comprised of games that I own that if you were to ask me, do you want to play? I would say yes almost all the time. And any difference in between the levels, 1 through 10, would just mean that I would rather play that game more than the other game on the list. Again, any games that don't make it on the list are not necessarily bad, but sometimes they're harder to get to the table. They take longer. And they're more involved, and sometimes you're not ready for that feeling. Where this one, I'm almost in the mood anytime to play these games. So I would just like to put that out there as well. So not all games are bad, but these 10 are the ones that I own. And again, so I haven't played every game, but these ones are my favorite that I have. So to begin, my number 10 game would be Dungeon Pets. This game being the sequel game to Dungeon Lords. This game I saw on Starlight Citadel. I had a nice review for it. It was in, I think, one of their top 10 lists, and then I looked up the review that they had. This game is a worker placement game of which you are looking to raise little pets, monster pets, and you want to get points for selling them and make them the most appealing to customers. And the aspect that made me like this game, other than it being a worker placement, is that it was a worker placement with a dedication of how much you want to do a specific task. Whereas in other worker placement games, you are hoping that the other person doesn't take the one action you want to take. Well, in this one, instead of only having, say, 4 or 5 workers, you have 8 to 10 imps. And if you really want to perform a task, you can designate maybe all of your imps in one group to go do that task. So as opposed to, oh, it wasn't my turn, I can't perform that task, this just gives you the opportunity, and if you have the largest group of imps that you secretly select, you can then go first. And the game has a nice theme to it. I like that the animals, they evolve, you have to feed them, they can poop, you have to clean up the poop. So I thought at the end it was really fun, and that was a game that we recently got, and I thought it was a good theme, and also with worker placement, it was a good strategy game as well. That's my number 10, Dungeon Pets. And so my number 9 game would be Red November. This game is a co-op game. That is the theme and the story of the game is you are workers on a ship that are trying to prevent a submarine from sinking, and there's fires happening, there's water pouring in, there's missiles going off, and so the game has a lot of fun theme to it. It's co-op, and it's a good game that is difficult but not impossible. There are some co-op games out there that are impossible, but this one was fun. I know in larger groups it's pretty good. Plays 3 to 8, and I think it can take a little longer with 8, but it still plays well. So everyone can have a good game with this. Again, Red November, my number 9. And my number 8 game would be Dominion. This popular card drafting game plays 2 to 4 players, and it is. I like it for its balance. You're trying to obtain the most points through buying providences, and you want to build some sort of engine in your deck to get money so you can buy these things. And I like it because as opposed to like other card games where you have a deck and you play your abilities like, say, Magic the Gathering, that game is almost based on how much money you spend on the game. So, but this game, everyone's drawing from the same pool of cards in-game, so it's not like you're pre-building the decks, and you can see what everyone else is doing in that deck, so you know what they're going for. So the game is very well balanced, and I think has a good feel, lots of expansions for it, and a pretty good game all around. So that's my number 8 game, Dominion. My number 7 game would be King of Tokyo, and specifically King of Tokyo with the power-ups expansion. King of Tokyo itself is a pretty good game. It's very light, has a high luck base, a little bit of skill, has some power cards that give it a variety in your choices of rolling dice multiple times in a Yahtzee sort of fashion. Gives us a little bit of skill element. But the game felt a little impersonal, being with the base game. You're all monsters trying to get points by staying in Tokyo or killing all the other people. And this game got a little better, or I'd say got better. It was already a pretty good game with the power-ups, because this gave more flavor to the each creature, as they had evolution cards, so where they got special powers. If you rolled 3 hearts, you could evolve and get a special power that is related to your creature only. So again, I thought this was good. I liked this game because it was pretty simple to learn, pretty simple to play. Didn't take a whole lot of thinking to get the whole strategy of the game. So I thought it was pretty good. It's a good introductory game, and again, the power-ups makes it a lot better. So that is my number 7 game. My number 6 game is a very popular one. I know on Board Game Geek it was #1 family rank game, and that is Seven Wonders. This game, has a timestamp here of 30 minutes and plays 2 to 7 people, which is an aspect I like, that it can play a lot of people, and it's a fast game that plays with a lot of people. And the mechanics of the game probably take about 1 gameplay to get through, just so you know what kind of the cards do. But it's a drafting game where you're looking to gather resources and points through a set of cards that everyone will see eventually throughout the game, and you can buy resources from your neighbors. There's a lot of different paths to victory, which is good in this game, so you want to be aware of other people that are playing the game. So this is a game I like to bring out when a lot of people are over, and it's a quick, easy game to learn, and a fun game to play, since there's so many different ways to win. So that is my number 6, Seven Wonders. And my number 5 game would be Pandemic. Pandemic is a good game in itself, being a co-op game, and I like the theme of the game. The one problem with making it a little dry is the rolls. There's only like 5 rolls to choose from, so I would also recommend getting the On the Brink expansion. Technically lets you play with a 5th player. I've played this game with 5 people by itself and still didn't find. But this adds a lot more roles to the game, adds a new virus. In this game, you're trying to eradicate a virus, 4 viruses. This one had a 5th one, to the world. And it's a co-op game. It's a lot of fun. I think that a lot of people have a good time working together with. And again, the expansion certainly adds a lot of flavor to it. When I had the original, didn't hit the table as much, but I think with the expansion, I played it a lot more even with just 2 people. So this, I think, is pretty well with 2 to 4 or 2 to 5, depending who is playing. And so this would be my number 5 game, Pandemic. My number 4 game is not as much as a group game because it only plays 2 players. But I was looking for a 2-player game and really got into it. It took a little bit to learn, but my number 4 game is Netrunner, Android Netrunner, the card game. This is a game that takes a little bit to get started. It does have expansions, and there's 2 roles in the game, so there's 2 different aspects of the game. So one person is a corporation, the other person is a runner, person trying to stop the corporation. And the gameplay is the same for both people, but the mechanics of how they do it is different. One person's trying to stop the other one's trying to secretly score agenda points. So I thought this was pretty good because you could switch between being the corporation or the runner, and there's a good deck building scheme in this beforehand, so it's a lot of fun to kind of pick out your own deck. And there's not a lot of cards in here, and it comes with multiple types of character bios that have different abilities. So we've had a lot of fun with the replayability of this, and we're looking to get expansions on this because I think it's a pretty good 2-player game, the best 2-player game that I own at this point. So my number 4, Netrunner. My number 3 game is a game recently purchased. It scales well for 2 people, and it plays 2 to 4. And that is Suburbia. Suburbia could be very much considered SimCity, but with board game. And you kind of get the theme, I think, fits pretty well in this, which makes you feel kind of good at the end of the game because you're building a civilization, and at the end of the game when you play SimCity, you feel pretty good and accomplished what you've built if it's successful. And, things work well in here, so like you wouldn't want to build a freeway next to housing, so you want to build corporations and you want to build businesses and factories and living and museums, all to get points and money and income and reputation to build your Suburbia. And it's been a lot of fun, and I hope there's expansions coming for it. Perhaps maybe new tiles, but the game is maybe look more complex than it actually is. It's a lot of fun, pretty quick to learn, pretty quick to play, and my number 3 game, Suburbia. My number 2 game, I think, is always rated high on many people's lists, but not quite as high as mine. My number 2 game would be Seasons. The game just, a lot of people say this, the game just looks great. I think the cards all work well together. There's a drafting element. You're trying to summon power cards, get the most points. A few different paths to victory here, but a lot of it is timing, when to play what when. And that's important. But it's a fun element all around where there's almost a job selection sort of thing with the dice, as opposed to the dice telling you a number of how much to move. You're choosing a item to obtain, and it has many different aspects you have to control throughout the game, and the cards work well together. And I think it's a great game. It doesn't scale as well with 2 people, but for 2 to 4, I would say 3 to 4 is really good to this. So that's my number 2 game, Seasons. And my number 1 game that for this list I would play just about any time somebody asks me, do you want to play this game? And I would say sure, and wouldn't have a problem with it because it's competitive, but if you lose, you had a good time playing, and there's a ton of replayability, and I think it's a good number 1 for me. And that is going to be Small World. Now actually we have Small World, Realms, and Small World Underground. So these are the 3 main expansions. There's some other expansions that have different races in it. I would say the best standalone would be Small World Underground. It has the most elements to the game, but it's nice to have all 3. Particularly, you just get so many more races by having the original set and the Underground set. The original just kind of has a soft spot because I like the original races powers that are in this one. These ones can kind of be hit or miss on some of them, but combining the both, and this one gives you, the Realms gives you a link with combining the both, as there's modular pieces in here which you can make your own world, and again it's all about conquering, and there's different races that have different abilities and different powers that have different abilities, and you put those 2 together, and those are all variables, and it can play 2 to 5. It scales pretty well. Still, the 2-player game is, the boards change every time you play. There's a 2-player board, a 3-player board. Same thing with all the versions. The only thing is I think the 2-player game is okay. 3-player game can be a little rough depending on how the attacking is going. 4-player and 5-player I think are the best for this. I have not played it with 6, which the Realms lets you do. But again, Small World, the game being with the most expansions I have. So that's my final number 1 game that I own that I like to play. So again, that's my top 10 list of games I own. I own some other games as well that were pretty good, but they just wouldn't hit me right away as to what I'd rather play these other games instead. Libertalia, Cosmic Encounter, a couple that come to mind. Nuns on the Run's a fun one. Some other games, Tiger's New Phrase, Carcassonne, Catan. Again, those ones are all good, but if you had to ask what games you'd rather play, these would be the first 10 I would run down the list with. So I hope this helps you in your decision. I would recommend, if you are looking to get any of the games I mentioned, Again, these are games that I bought because I had done research on things that I thought looked good, going to Board Game Geek, looking at the list and seeing what's popular, and then going to YouTube and seeing a review on it. A lot of these games, and now all of them, have a review by Dice Tower or Starlight Citadels. You can make your own judgment then, and that's a good spot to start then as well if you're interested in these games, to get other games, Board Game Geek, Starlight Citadel, and Dice Tower. And so I hope this helps people who don't normally have a lot of games to start with get some baseline to start looking. So thanks for watching, and hopefully you'll get some more games.